Strangers by Taichi Yamada. Translated by Wayne Lammers. Chapter 9. I arranged to meet the producer of my new series at a coffee shop in Shibuya the next evening. I arrived first, and I noticed him blanch when he came in and recognized me. He quickly covered up by breaking into a broad smile as he came toward me, but I suspected right away that something was wrong. It seemed to have become a regular pattern with my recent jobs. I could always count on some kind of a glitch. The script for the first episode had come very smoothly. Not only had the initial draft progressed at a rare pace, but I'd found very few corrections to make when I read through it. In fact, everything had gone a little too easily. Something nasty had to be lurking around the corner. "You work fast," he said, wiping the perspiration from his face with the cold cloth the waitress brought when she came to take his order for a glass of iced milk. I guess I was in some kind of groove. "Can't complain about that," he said, avoiding my eyes as he unzipped his slim leather briefcase and pulled out a large manila envelope. "I should have asked you on the phone to be sure to bring your personal seal with you." "Why?" "The station's new policy says we have to get all the paperwork in order before we accept any manuscripts," he said, drawing a document from the envelope. It was a contract between the station and me. "It's a standard contract," he said. "Identical except for the amount entered as your scriptwriting fee. You'll need to affix your seal in 3 places. I've circled each spot lightly with a pencil. So this means we have the green light?" "You got it." The sponsors all gave thumbs up. It's set to air beginning the second week of October, and the first episode will run as a special. I went down to Osaka yesterday to meet with our pharmaceuticals, and when I got back, I went straight from Tokyo Station to a 5 o'clock meeting at Cosmetics. This morning it was Automotive at 10. Man, oh man. It's not the sort of legwork a producer ought to have to do. Someone on the marketing staff could tell them everything they need to know, but they all insist on hearing it from the producer. I tell you, I'm beat. Sorry I kept you in suspense so long. We're going to be on a tight schedule, with shooting to begin on location the first week of September. So we'll all appreciate whatever you can do to move things along. "Here's the first episode," I said, handing him my manuscript. "Thanks. I'll read it right away and call if I have any questions." "Sure." The waitress came back with the glass of iced milk. So it appeared there had been no snags after all, at least for the time being. Or was that what he was going to hit me with next? It turns out the lead actress is 3 months pregnant, and she doesn't know who the father is. But she insists she wants to have the baby. With shooting lasting 3 months, she'll be 6 months pregnant by the end, and it's obviously going to show. Of course, most of the time we can do creative things with her wardrobe to hide it, but I'm afraid we'll have to avoid scenes where she plays tennis. We're also a little worried how the public will react to having an unwed mother in the role. It'll be all to the good if they're sympathetic, but hey, it could just as easily go the other way. Finding a replacement at this stage could be tough, but if that's what it's going to be, we need to move fast. No doubt it would be something like that. I knew I was letting my imagination get away from me, but better to be prepared for the worst. That way it would come as less of a blow. "Oh," he said, as though suddenly remembering something. "Here it comes," I thought. "Is there anything I need to know beforehand about the first episode?" I think we covered the bases when we did the research together. Good. Just read the script. You sound like you're pretty pleased with it. I sensed that he wanted to say something more. His eyes shifted about, and he seemed to have something on his mind. You're acting like you have something else to tell me, I said, with a nervous smile. Huh. Something's come up, hasn't it? Why would you think that? The look on your face when you came in wasn't what I'd call it, okay? More precisely, it was the look on his face when he came in and caught sight of me. That's right, I recalled. It was when he saw me that his expression had changed. You might think it's none of my business, he said with a nervous laugh. What? And you might get mad at me for fretting about nothing, but is this about me? You're in good health, aren't you? Why do you ask? Well, producers are that way. They're always walking on pins and needles, wondering what might go wrong. So far as I know, I'm in perfect shape. I suppose it's just the light then. Is there something wrong with the way I look? You seem a little pale, that's all. My worst nightmare is having a scriptwriter keel over on me in the middle of a series, you know. At any rate, do take extra good care of yourself until we're through. Of course, after that, you can drop dead for all I care, but... We laughed, chatted a while, and then parted. I looked at myself in shop windows as I walked along the street, but the reflection was never clear enough to show skin tone. I certainly didn't feel overworked. Last night, I had returned from dinner with my parents at a reasonable hour and was in bed by 11. In the morning, I'd sat down to read back through the manuscript at my usual 9 o'clock starting time, and I'd finished in about an hour and a half. The entire suggestion seemed ridiculous. And yet, it bothered me. My mother and father belonged to the world of the dead, after all, and it did not seem implausible that a person who had contact with their kind would find himself sapped of his vital forces. Many such instances were found in the lore, from ancient legends to modern novels. I hadn't noticed any change in my complexion when I shaved before going out, but it wouldn't be particularly surprising if I had indeed lost some of my color. I was anxious to find a mirror to get a better look at myself. I wasn't afraid of what I might discover. Quite the contrary, I felt strangely at peace. Behind their easygoing nonchalance, my parents must have had to make sacrifices of untold proportions in order to come back and join me in this world. If it meant I needed to give up a portion of my lifeblood in exchange, I was quite willing to pay the price. In fact, it would actually be a load off my mind. Seeing for myself that I was paler than usual would let me breathe easier. My parents had been doing altogether too much of the giving. I remembered an Indian restaurant I'd eaten at a number of times that had a large mirror on the wall next to the cash register. It was a bit early, but perhaps I would eat supper there before going on home. If the new show was to start airing the second week of October, I wanted to write at least 3 more episodes before the end of August. That figured out to a pace of 5 days per episode. Whoa, getting a little pumped up, are we? My lips bent in a crooked smile. No sign of flagging vitality there. Nor did my face look the least bit sallow when I examined it in the mirror at the restaurant. You look dreadful, Kay said the moment she came in a little after 9 that evening. What do you mean? I responded, taken aback by her abruptness. I had checked myself in the mirror again after returning home and found nothing strange. I wish you wouldn't tease me. Believe it or not, I'm actually kind of sensitive about my appearance. I headed for the bathroom mirror, where I could examine myself in the brightness of two 100-watt, soft white light bulbs. I admit that my age shows, I said, but I don't think I look so dreadful. Kay came up next to me, and we stood gazing at our reflections side by side. Our eyes met in the mirror. The skin's sagging a bit under my eyes, but that's nothing new, and I think my color's about as good as you can expect for a 48-year-old city slicker. Kay said. I watched you come in last night. When you got home, I thought I checked your window. And it was dark, right? I figured you weren't home. I like to stand looking out my window, but I don't want people to see me like that and think I'm feeling down and out, so I usually turn out the lights. You should have called me. I was afraid. Of me? You looked deathly pale. Now hold on just a minute. I want you to look at me right there in the mirror. You say I look bad? Sure. Maybe I'd look pale if you put me next to some surfer boy. But this is pretty much how I've always looked, and I don't feel the least bit stressed out or tired. There's absolutely nothing for you to worry about. I'd appreciate it if you'd stop scaring me. If you can say that with a straight face, Kay said, then there's really something wrong with you. Her eyes burned into me. Are you telling me you don't see how haggard you are? I look haggard? What are you talking about? In fact, I look much healthier than you. I protested to the K in the mirror, my voice rising a pitch. And I can see myself perfectly fine. Thank you very much. Look, I'm raising my right arm and now I'm lowering it. I'm putting it around your shoulder. I'm pinching my nose with my left hand, and I'm sticking out my tongue. If I'm not seeing myself, then what the blazes am I seeing? Stop being a wise ass. The daggers in her gaze almost made me jump. I don't mean to be, but I'm also having a hard time taking this seriously. The fact is, I feel like I've got all the energy in the world right now. And every bit of that energy is standing here wanting you. I pressed my lips to hers. Briefly, she tried to pull away, as if wanting to say something, but then she yielded. After our lips parted, she spoke again. Has anything funny happened to you recently? I'm not laughing, am I? I asked, even though I knew exactly what she meant. If I told her about my parents now, she would jump to conclusions and denounce them as demonic spirits. I didn't want my parents to be spoken of as some evil to be exorcised. Tell me, Kay pressed me for an answer. No, I can't think of anything. You're lying. Why would you say that? Because you're a lousy liar. When you glare at me like that, I feel like apologizing for lies I haven't told. Stop being evasive. I think something really serious is going on. I have a feeling about it. How exciting. Stop kidding with me, will you? I never realized you took my welfare so much to heart. Shouldn't that go without saying? Or have I been deluding myself? About what? Kay hesitated a moment, ever so slightly averting her eyes. Then almost right away she returned her penetrating gaze. I've thought of us as being together, you know. I have too. It's just that. It's just that what? I'm in no position to assume we are. Why not? There's a 15-year age gap between us. It's nice for a woman of 33 to be told she's too young, but I have a handicap too, you know. So stop being so self-conscious. Are we lovers or not? Of course we are. Then shall we continue our kissing somewhere other than in the bathroom? We enjoyed another long kiss there before moving back to the living room. I thought we had put the issue of my health behind us. But as we sat down on the sofa and I started to take her in my arms again, being careful not to touch her chest, Kay suddenly stiffened. "You have to stop hiding whatever it is," she said. "I'm not hiding anything." "Then just answer me one thing." "I promise you, you don't need to worry about me." "You really, truly didn't look tired to yourself?" "There's not a man on earth who doesn't show some wear and tear at age 48. You have deep, dark bags under your eyes," she said, looking me in the face. "Your cheeks are hollow." I gazed back at her silently. "That's how you look right now. And it's how you looked in the mirror." I'd once read a novel in which a perfectly healthy man becomes gravely ill when everyone he knows starts telling him how unwell he looks, but I couldn't imagine why Kay would attempt such a prank. Yet, the face I had seen in the mirror had had no deep, dark bags under the eyes nor any sunken cheeks. If anything, I would have said I looked a little overfed. That meant one of us had to be seeing wrong. If majority ruled, then it seemed Kay had the advantage, for my producer had also thought I looked gaunt. I sat motionless as my mind raced. Kay, too, remained completely still, watching me. A knot of terror throbbed to life in the pit of my stomach. If the image I saw in the mirror was not my true reflection, then I had no way to diagnose my own condition. Could there be anything so preposterous? Yet, when I considered the other preposterous things that had been going on lately, I could hardly dismiss something just because it didn't accord with my own perceptions. "All right, I'll tell you," I said. "I'll tell you all about it, but you have to promise not to think it's no good for me." Kay silently nodded her head. "It's been nothing but a blessing. I suppose I do look haggard and wasted, even if I can't see it myself. But I assure you there's no reason to worry in this case. It's unlike anything else that might affect my appearance. I've had a wonderful experience. Unreal, yes, I can't deny it, but also truly wonderful." I began by telling her about the night I met my father at the Asakusa Variety Hall. She offered no sign of disbelief as she listened. I supposed she could be concealing her true reaction, lest I stop in the middle of my account, but even then it meant she was sincere about wanting to know. Even if we were of the same mind about our relationship being more than casual, we hadn't actually been together so very long. It touched me deeply to see her listening with such earnestness, trying so hard to discover the cause of my emaciation. Though some would surely snicker, I must say I thought it was love. As I spoke, I realized that I had not been cared for in a very long time. I wasn't being sore. I could hardly expect others to care about me when I had cared so little about others all these years. Only, I felt guilty that I was thinking of Kay's genuine concern as having broken a long dry spell. For only the day before, I had enjoyed the warm embrace of my parents' unconditional love. Somewhere in my mind, I seemed to have accepted the experience with my parents as unreal while regarding my love for Kay as real, and I felt ashamed of myself. This, in spite of reviewing everything my father had taught me about flower rummy after I got home last night, in spite of looking up flower cards in the encyclopedia and verifying that the cards were divided into months. Yet, the longer I spoke with Kay, the more I felt that my mother and father's Asakusa could not possibly be real.